Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny, and realizing it could be worth more than your car, your house, or even your retirement savings. What if I told you that a single Lincoln cent from 1971, struck at the San Francisco Mint, has sold for over $800,000 at auction, and that some experts believe the right coin, in the right condition, could touch $1 million? Suddenly, that little copper coin doesn't seem so ordinary, does it? This is the story of the 1971 Lincoln cent, a coin most people have unknowingly handled. A coin that still hides in jars, in old rolls, and in forgotten change drawers. It looks almost identical to every other penny from that era. But for those who know what to look for, it's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. And in the next few minutes, you're going to discover why. To understand this, we need to step back into the early 1970s, a turbulent time in America. The country was facing economic uncertainty, the Vietnam War was raging, and President Nixon had just taken the U.S. off the gold standard. The penny itself was still being struck primarily in copper, long before it would transition to the cheaper zinc composition in the 1980s. At the San Francisco Mint, millions of proof and circulation coins were produced in 1971, bearing that small, almost invisible S beneath the date. But in the chaos of minting, something extraordinary happened. The mint struck thousands of coins with doubled dies. A doubled die is not just a minor scratch or minting error. It is the result of a dramatic mistake in the die-making process. When the hub impresses the design onto the die more than once, but misaligned. When that flawed die goes into production, creates coins with letters and numbers that look slightly doubled, distorted, or stretched. These are the coins collectors dream about, the coins that transform pocket change into life-changing windfalls. And among them, the 1971 Lincoln cent stands as one of the most valuable. Why? Because the doubling on this particular issue is bold, dramatic, and unmistakable. On the obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's profile rests. The date 1971 and the word liberty can appear strongly doubled. Even the iconic phrase "In God We Trust" shows heavy doubling on certain examples. For collectors, this kind of bold doubling isn't just desirable, it's rare. And rarity drives prices into the stratosphere. Let me put this in perspective. In average condition, a regular 1971 penny might fetch only a few cents more than face value, but a certified double die proof in pristine condition has sold at major auctions for jaw-dropping sums. In one case, a specimen achieved a price of over $18,000. Another hit over $35,000. And then came the record-breaking sale. A stunning, nearly flawless coin that shocked the collecting world when it crossed the auction block for $821,000. Think about that for a moment. A coin you could have spent on a gumball, sold for the price of a luxury home. Now here's the part that should send a chill down your spine. Most people have no idea these coins exist. They've been sitting unnoticed in proof sets, in dresser drawers, or in boxes tucked away in attics. Some have likely been spent, passed from hand to hand, forgotten. Which raises the question, how many are still out there waiting to be found? And could one of them be in your possession right now? Collectors and dealers agree that the key to unlocking this treasure lies in close inspection. You won't find these coins by casually glancing at them. You need a magnifying glass, good lighting, and patience. Look carefully at the date. Is the 7 in 1971 doubled, almost like a faint shadow trailing it? Does the word Liberty look thicker, stretched, or even like it was written twice? These are the signs. And if you spot them, you may be holding something extraordinary. But here's where the urgency comes in. The coin market is hotter than ever. Collectors across the world are hunting aggressively for high-grade doubled dies. And the longer you wait, the slimmer your chances of cashing in. Because once coins get discovered and certified, the pool of hidden treasures shrinks dramatically. Every day someone checks their old change jar, finds something unusual, and sends it off for grading. Every day, another opportunity disappears. Now, let's be real for a moment. Not every 1971 penny will make you rich. In fact, most won't. That's the catch. But that's also why the chase is so thrilling. It's like treasure hunting in plain sight. Some people buy lottery tickets. Others dream of striking oil. But what if your $1 million ticket is already in your house, disguised as a simple penny? That's not a fantasy, it's a documented reality. And here's a fascinating twist. The 1971 doubled die isn't the only Lincoln cent error worth chasing. There are famous cousins, the 1955 doubled die, the 1969's doubled die, and the legendary 1995 doubled die. But while those coins are well known, the 1971's has become a kind of dark horse in the hobby. It's rarer, more elusive, and when pristine examples surface, they ignite bidding wars that feel more like Wall Street than coin collecting. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you checked your old proof sets? Those little boxes of coins sold by the mint decades ago. Many families bought them as souvenirs and promptly stored them away. Few realize that some of those sets contain ticking time bombs of value, including doubled die cents. If you have inherited coins from parents or grandparents, or if you've picked up old sets at estate sales, you might be sitting on a small fortune without even knowing it. And here's where it gets almost comical. Somewhere, right now, someone is unknowingly spending a 1971 doubled die penny at the grocery store, getting 99 cents back in change and walking away without a clue. That's the tragedy and the comedy of these coins. They're so ordinary, so camouflaged in plain sight, that even people who touch them don't realize what they have. But you won't be one of those people, not after hearing this. You now know the secret. And with knowledge comes opportunity and responsibility. If you find a coin you suspect might be special, don't clean it, don't polish it, and definitely don't spend it. The next step is to send it to a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. Their experts will authenticate it, assign a grade, and encapsulate it in a protective holder. That certification is what unlocks its true market value. Without it, your coin is just a curiosity. With it, it becomes a headline-making treasure. Think about how transformative this could be. That single penny could erase debts, pay for college, or fund your dream retirement. For some, it's the chance to leave a legacy, to pass down not just a coin, but a story of discovery and triumph. And isn't that what we're all searching for? A chance to change the narrative of our lives with one extraordinary moment. So the question is, are you willing to look? Are you willing to take that jar of change, that dusty proof set, that forgotten envelope of coins, and search with fresh eyes? Because history shows that fortune doesn't just favor the bold, it favors the prepared. As we close, let me leave you with this final thought. Somewhere in an attic or a basement, there is a small copper coin with a tiny S beneath the date 1971. It doesn't shout its value. It doesn't gleam like gold or sparkle like diamonds. It waits quietly, patiently, for someone with the curiosity to notice it, the wisdom to recognize it, and the courage to act on it. That someone could be you. The $1 million penny is real, and if you don't check your change, someone else will. So tonight, when the world grows quiet, and you're alone with your thoughts, remember this. The next chapter of your life could begin with the simplest of actions. Pick up that penny. Look closer. What you find might just astonish you. Now, before you dismiss this as another tall tale about pocket change treasures, consider this. In the world of rare coins, ordinary mistakes turn into extraordinary jackpots. In fact, documented sales of this very penny have soared as high as $817,000 when discovered in pristine condition. Imagine something you might have tossed into a coin jar without a second thought could rival the price of a luxury home. How does a humble 1-cent coin become so valuable? The answer lies in a mix of minting quirks, historical mystery, and pure scarcity. But here's where it gets really intriguing. The 1973 no-mint mark penny is not just rare, it's shrouded in secrecy. And if you think the government ever meant for these coins to reach the public, you'd be mistaken. Let's rewind to the early 1970s. Richard Nixon was in the White House. Gas cost just 40 cents a gallon. The Vietnam War was still raging, and the country was preparing for the energy crisis. Meanwhile, at the U.S. Mint, billions of Lincoln cents were being struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most were completely ordinary, yet among them, a tiny handful slipped through without the identifying mint mark that reveals their origin. To the average American in 1973, it didn't matter. A penny was a penny, but numismaticists, serious coin collectors, knew that when the mint fails to mark a coin, it can transform into a treasure. Here's the twist. The no-mint mark issue is especially rare because, starting in 1968, the Philadelphia Mint typically didn't put a mint mark on its coins anyway. So why does the 1973 version matter? Because collectors have identified an ultra-rare die variety, essentially a 1 new billion error, that sets it apart. Imagine the tiniest inconsistency in how the coin was struck, and suddenly, instead of being worth 1 cent, it's worth a life-changing fortune. still skeptical. Think about this. One of these coins, graded at the highest possible condition, was reported to sell for an astonishing $817,000. To put that into perspective, that's more than 81 million times its face value. That's like walking into a convenience store with a penny and walking out with the deed to a mansion. If that doesn't send a shiver down your spine, nothing will. But here's the real kicker. Most of these coins aren't locked away in museums. They're out, they're circulating. Sitting in old coffee cans, tucked away in forgotten piggy banks, or lying at the bottom of dresser drawers. Which raises a chilling question. How many people have unknowingly spent a $1 million penny at the grocery store? Think about that for a second. Someone, somewhere, might have handed over one of these rare treasures just to buy a pack of gum. It makes you wonder, how many times have you let wealth slip through your fingers without even knowing it? Now, I can almost hear your thoughts. How can I tell if I have one of these coins? What exactly do I need to look for? Well, the first thing is condition. In coin collecting, condition is king. A 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln sent in poor, circulated shape might fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars, which is still staggering for a penny. But in mint Staten, Cheddens, pristine, shimmering like the day it was struck, the value skyrockets. That's how you get into the hundreds of thousands. Collectors use a scale called the Sheldon grading system, which ranges from 1 to 70. A grade of 70 means absolute perfection. No scratches, no blemishes, no imperfections visible even under magnification. And here's the staggering truth. That $817,000 sale? It was for a near-perfect specimen, something that should not have survived 50 years of circulation. Yet, somehow, against all odds, it did. And let's not forget, these coins are part of the Lincoln Cent series, the most collected coin in the world. Millions of Americans have started coin collections with a simple penny. That means the competition to find one of these rare 1973 no-mint marks is fierce. Collectors, investors, even treasure hunters, they're all combing through rolls of pennies, praying to strike gold in copper. But here's the sobering side of this story. For every person who found one, countless others overlooked it. Maybe they thought, hey, it's just a penny. Maybe they didn't take the time to check the date. Maybe they simply didn't know what they were holding. That's the tragedy and the opportunity. Because now that you know, you have the advantage. Pause for a moment and picture this. You're at your kitchen table, sorting through a jar of coins. It's tedious, almost boring. Then, suddenly, you spot a Tay 1973 penny that looks different. No mint mark? You hold your breath. Could it be? Your heart races. You take it to a professional grader, and weeks later, the confirmation arrives. You've struck the numismatic equivalent of oil. Overnight, you've gone from pocket change to a windfall worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Imagine the possibilities. College tuition paid. Mortgage erased. Retirement secured. All because you looked closely at a coin worth 1 cent. Does it sound like a dream? Of course it does. But dreams have a funny way of becoming reality when knowledge meets opportunity. And right now, that opportunity could be sitting in your house, waiting for you to recognize it. And here's something else you should know. In the numismatic world, time is your enemy. Coins deteriorate. Each day, more 1973 pennies get damaged, scratched, or worn beyond recognition. Each day, potential fortunes are lost forever. And as surviving specimens grow fewer, the value of the remaining ones climbs higher, which means the longer you wait, the slimmer your chances become. Now, let me throw a curveball at you. Did you know that collectors are not only after the no-mint mark itself, but also tiny die varieties, double strikes, off-center strikes, or faint errors invisible to the casual observer? Some of these micro-errors, when paired with the elusive 1973 date, can multiply a coin's value many times over. Think of it like hitting the jackpot twice. It's the difference between finding a rare coin and finding a rare coin with a hidden bonus feature. So, where does this leave you? With a choice. You can ignore this information, keep tossing pennies into jars, and assume lightning will never strike. Or you can take action. Start checking your change. Learn to recognize what sets these coins apart. Arm yourself with the knowledge that could transform a single cent into generational wealth. Remember, the 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is not a myth. It's real. It exists. It has sold for nearly $1 million. And somewhere, right now, it's waiting to be found again. Maybe in a bankroll. Maybe in a coin collection you inherited. Maybe, just maybe, in your very own pocket. The question is, will you be the one to find it, or will you let it slip away? If you've ever doubted that the smallest things can hold the greatest value, let this penny be the proof. Don't underestimate it. Don't dismiss it. Because in a world where fortunes are fleeting, sometimes all it takes to change everything is one coin, one moment, and one stroke of unbelievable luck. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you dig into that old jar of coins, or when you stumble across your childhood piggy bank, take a second look. That ordinary penny in your hand might just be the key to an extraordinary future. And if you don't look, you'll never know what you missed, because in the end, the most valuable coin in the world isn't the one sitting in a collector's cases, the one waiting to be discovered in yours. Now, let me ask you one last time. Have you checked your pennies lately? Now, before you dismiss this as another tall tale about pocket change treasures, consider this. In the world of rare coins, ordinary mistakes turn into extraordinary jackpots. In fact, documented sales of this very penny have soared as high as $817,000 when discovered in pristine condition. Imagine something you might have tossed into a coin jar without a second thought could rival the price of a luxury home. How does a humble 1-cent coin become so valuable? The answer lies in a mix of minting quirks, historical mystery, and pure scarcity. But here's where it gets really intriguing. The 1973 no-mint mark penny is not just rare, it's shrouded in secrecy. And if you think the government ever meant for these coins to reach the public, you'd be mistaken. Let's rewind to the early 1970s. Richard Nixon was in the White House. Gas cost just 40 cents a gallon. The Vietnam War was still raging, and the country was preparing for the energy crisis. Meanwhile, at the U.S. Mint, billions of Lincoln cents were being struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most were completely ordinary. Yet among them, a tiny handful slipped through without the identifying mint mark that reveals their origin. To the average American in 1973, it didn't matter. A penny was a penny, but numismatists, serious coin collectors knew that when the mint fails to mark a coin, it can transform into a treasure. Here's the twist. The no mint mark issue is especially rare because, starting in 1968, the Philadelphia Mint typically didn't put a mint mark on its coins anyway. So why does the 1973 version matter? Because collectors have identified an ultra-rare, die variety, essentially a 1 new billionaire that sets it apart. Imagine the tiniest inconsistency in how the coin was struck, and suddenly, instead of being worth 1 cent, it's worth a life-changing fortune. Still skeptical? Think about this. One of these coins, graded at the highest possible condition, was reported to sell for an astonishing $817,000. To put that into perspective, that's more than 81 million times its face value. That's like walking into a convenience store with a penny and walking out with the deed to a mansion. If that doesn't send a shiver down your spine, nothing will. But here's the real kicker. Most of these coins aren't locked away in museums. They're out, they're circulating, sitting in old coffee cans, tucked away in forgotten piggy banks, or lying at the bottom of dresser drawers. Which raises a chilling question. How many people have unknowingly spent $1 million penny at the grocery store? Think about that for a second. Someone, somewhere, might have handed over one of these rare treasures just to buy a pack of gum. It makes you wonder, how many times have you let wealth slip through your fingers without even knowing it? Now, I can almost hear your thoughts. How can I tell if I have one of these coins? What exactly do I need to look for? Well, the first thing is condition. In coin collecting, condition is king. A 1973 no mint mark Lincoln, sent in poor circulated shape, might fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars, which is still staggering for a penny. But in mint state untouched, pristine, shimmering like the day it was struck, the value skyrockets. That's how you get into the hundreds of thousands. Collectors use a scale called the Sheldon grading system, which ranges from 1 to 70. A grade of 70 means absolute perfection. No scratches, no blemishes, no imperfections visible even under magnification. And here's the staggering truth. That $817,000 sale? It was for a near-perfect specimen, something that should not have survived 50 years of circulation. Yet somehow, against all odds, it did. And let's not forget, these coins are part of the Lincoln Cent series, the most collected coin in the world. Millions of Americans have started coin collections with a simple penny. That means the competition to find one of these rare 1973 no mint marks is fierce. Collectors, investors, Even treasure hunters, they're all combing through rolls of pennies, praying to strike gold in copper. But here's the sobering side of this story. For every person who found one, countless others overlooked it. Maybe they thought, "Hey, it's just a penny." Maybe they didn't take the time to check the date. Maybe they simply didn't know what they were holding. That's the tragedy and the opportunity. Because now that you know, you have the advantage. Pause for a moment and picture this. You're at your kitchen table, sorting through a jar of coins. It's tedious, almost boring. Then, suddenly, you spot a 1973 penny that looks different. No mint mark. You hold your breath. Could it be? Your heart races. You take it to a professional grader, and weeks later, confirmation arrives. You've struck the numismatic equivalent of oil. Overnight, you've gone from pocket change to a windfall worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Imagine the possibilities. College tuition paid, mortgage erased, retirement secured. All because you looked closely at a coin worth 1 cent. Does it sound like a dream? Of course it does. But dreams have a funny way of becoming reality when knowledge meets opportunity. And right now, that opportunity could be sitting in your house, waiting for you to recognize it. And here's something else you should know. In the numismatic world, time is your enemy. Coins deteriorate. Each day, more 1973 pennies get damaged, scratched, or worn beyond recognition. Each day, potential fortunes are lost forever. And as surviving specimens grow fewer, the value of the remaining ones climbs higher, which means the longer you wait, the slimmer your chances become. Now, let me throw a curveball at you. Did you know that collectors are not only after the no mint mark itself, but also tiny die varieties, double strikes, off-center strikes, or faint errors invisible to the casual observer? Some of these micro errors, when paired with the elusive 1973 date, can multiply a coin's value many times over. Think of it like hitting the jackpot twice. It's the difference between finding a rare coin and finding a rare coin with a hidden bonus feature. So, where does this leave you? With a choice. You can ignore this information, keep tossing pennies into jars, and assume lightning will never strike. Or you can take action. Start checking your change. Learn to recognize what sets these coins apart. Arm yourself with the knowledge that could transform a single cent into generational wealth. Remember, the 1973 no mint mark Lincoln cent is not a myth. It's real. It exists. It has sold for nearly $1 million. And somewhere, right now, it's waiting to be found again. Maybe in a bankroll. Maybe in a coin collection you inherited. Maybe, just maybe, in your very own pocket. The question is, will you be the one to find it, or will you let it slip away? If you've ever doubted that the smallest things can hold the greatest value, let this penny be the proof. Don't underestimate it. Don't dismiss it. Because in a world where fortunes are fleeting, sometimes all it takes to change everything is one coin, one moment, and one stroke of unbelievable luck. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you dig into that old jar of coins, Or when you stumble across your childhood piggy bank, take a second look. That ordinary penny in your hand might just be the key to an extraordinary future. And if you don't look, you'll never know what you missed. Because in the end, the most valuable coin in the world isn't the one sitting in a collector's case, it's the one waiting to be discovered in yours. Now, let me ask you one last time. Have you checked your pennies lately? In 1979, millions of ordinary copper coins poured out of the Denver Mint. To most people, they were nothing more than pocket change. Pennies for gumball machines, for candy bars, or for dropping into a jar by the kitchen sink. But here's the twist. Hidden among those billions of coins, there exists a version so rare, so mysterious, that a single example has sold for more than $800,000. Yes, you heard that right, a penny, worth more than some luxury homes. And some experts whisper that in pristine condition, this coin could push into the millions. Now ask yourself this: when was the last time you checked your change? Because if you've overlooked the small brown coin rattling around in your wallet, you might be sitting on a life-changing fortune without even realizing it. Let's rewind for a moment. The year is 1979. America is in flux, rising gas prices, inflation creeping into daily life, and the mint working around the clock to meet the demand for coins. At the Denver Mint, marked by that little D just beneath Abraham Lincoln's portrait, production numbers soared. More than 4 billion Lincoln cents rolled off the presses. To most collectors, a mintage that high means nothing special. Billions of coins. No rarity there. But history loves exceptions. And the 1979D Lincoln cent has become the ultimate reminder that rarity hides in plain sight. You see? It isn't just about how many were made. It's about how few survived in flawless, untouched condition. Most pennies were spent, scratched, tossed in drawers, and eroded by time. But a handful, a very small handful, slipped through the cracks, preserved in pristine brilliance. Those are the coins that have changed lives. In January of 2023, one such coin surfaced at auction, graded at the absolute pinnacle of perfection. The hammer fell at an astonishing $804,000. Imagine someone once pocketed that coin with no clue of its destiny. And here's where the suspense thickens. Experts believe there could be more. Lurking in collections, tucked inside jars, or hiding in old bank rolls are coins that may rival or even surpass that record. Think about it. How many people today are carefully combing through their 1979 pennies? Most shrug them off as common copper. But the treasure hunt is real, and the rewards are staggering. So, what exactly makes the 1979D penny so valuable? It's not just the date. It's not just the D mint mark. The true value comes from condition, scarcity, imperfection, and in some cases, tiny minting anomalies that set a coin apart. Grading agencies like PCGs and NGC scrutinize every detail: the shine of the luster, the crispness of the strike, the absence of nicks or spots. For most 1979D cents, those grades fall far short of perfection. But when one emerges without a flaw, the market goes wild. Collectors and investors, many with deep pockets, a battle for ownership of what they see as history's crown jewel. Now let me ask you, what would it feel like to find one of these treasures? To pull out a penny you've overlooked for years, only to discover it could pay off your mortgage or secure your retirement. It's not a fantasy. It has happened before, and it can happen again. Of course, the danger is complacency. Millions of Americans have jars of coins gathering dust, yet they never check. Some even cash them in at the bank, unaware of what they've just given away. Imagine the fear of realizing you handed over a fortune for face value. That's the chilling part. Fortunes have been lost because people didn't look closely enough. But the good news: knowledge is power, and you now have it. The Denver Mint cent from 1979 might look ordinary, but under the right conditions, it's extraordinary. And don't forget the thrill of the hunt. Collecting coins isn't just about money, it's about discovery. Every coin has a story. Every penny you hold connects you to American history. And in rare cases, it connects you to unimaginable wealth. Here's where things get even more interesting. In addition to condition rarities, there are error coins from 1979D that send collectors into a frenzy. Double dies, off-center strikes, even misplaced mint marks small flaws that make coins unique. While not every error commands 6 or 7 figures, some have sold for thousands of dollars. Think of it as a bonus round in your treasure hunt. A simple magnifying glass and a little patience could reveal a mistake that turns a 1-cent coin into a 5-figure payday. Now picture this. You're sifting through a roll of pennies. Maybe something passed down from a parent or grandparent. Most are ordinary, worn, and dull. But then your eye catches something. A coin that gleams brighter, sharper, untouched by time. Your heart skips. Could it be? The adrenaline spikes, your hands shake, and in that moment, you realize that a simple penny might just rewrite your future. Isn't it fascinating that a coin designed for everyday use, a coin billions strong, could secretly be rarer than diamonds? We value what's scarce, what's perfect, what's unique. And the 1979D Lincoln cent, in its finest form, embodies all three. Let's take a moment to reflect. Abraham Lincoln's face has graced the penny since 1909, the longest-running coin design in American history. Generations have carried his image in their pockets. Yet hidden within that familiar design, certain years and mint marks carry secrets worth fortunes. The 1979D is one of those years. And it reminds us that opportunity often hides where we least expect it. Things you ignore. In the penny you almost drop on the ground, in the coins you were about to roll up and cash in. Now, here's the twist you didn't see coming. Some analysts believe the market for top-condition coins hasn't even peaked. With inflation and global uncertainty, wealthy investors are pouring money into tangible assets, art, gold, rare collectibles. High-grade coins fit perfectly into that strategy. They're portable, historical, and irreplaceable. Which means the next flawless 1979D penny to surface could very well break the $1 million mark. That's not just speculation. It's the trajectory we've already seen in the coin market. So what do you do with this knowledge? You search. You check your jars, your rolls, your forgotten piggy banks. You learn how to recognize quality and errors. You never assume a coin is worthless just because it's common. And most importantly, you act before someone else scoops up the treasure that could have been yours. Because here's the final cliffhanger. While most people dismiss pennies as trivial, a few sharp-eyed individuals are quietly building fortunes. They know that the smallest coin in your hand could hold the biggest secret of your financial future. The real question is, will you be the one who discovers it, or will you let it slip away unnoticed? In the end, the 1979D Lincoln cent is more than just money. It's a symbol, a reminder that wealth can hide in the most ordinary places, waiting for the person bold enough to look. The next life-changing discovery could be sitting in your pocket right now. So check your coins, because the clock is ticking. And history has already proven that the humble penny can be worth a fortune. After all, someone will find the next $1 million 1979D cent. Why shouldn't it be you? In the world of rare coins, stories often begin in the most ordinary of places. A handful of change on your nightstand, a penny rolling across the kitchen floor, a coin you almost gave to the cashier without a second thought. But sometimes, that tiny piece of copper carries a secret powerful enough to change your life. And tonight, we're going to unravel one of the most electrifying mysteries in American numismatics. The 1980 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. A coin that looks like every other penny in your pocket, yet in pristine condition has commanded market whispers of values climbing past $800,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A penny that could be worth more than a house, more than a lifetime of paychecks, and in some cases, more than $1 million. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly looked at a penny? Not glanced, not dismissed, but really examined it. Because right now, in junk drawers, coffee cans, and piggy banks across the United States, there may be a fortune hiding in plain sight. To understand why this coin holds such breathtaking value, we first have to step back into the year 1980. America was changing. Inflation was high, gas lines stretched around city blocks, and the Lincoln cent, the humble 1-cent coin we so often overlook, was quietly undergoing a shift of its own. At the Philadelphia Mint, something extraordinary happened. For decades, Philadelphia had produced coins without mint marks. But beginning in 1980, a tiny letter P was added to the dime. For the cent, however, there was a twist. Some coins slipped out of the presses without their identifying marks, creating a variety that would one day become the obsession of collectors and the dream of everyday Americans. Who stumbled upon them now? Pause for a moment. Imagine that, millions of pennies clattering off presses, and buried among them, a tiny handful struck without their proper markings. How many survived? How many ended up in circulation? And how many could still be hiding in a jar in your own home? The thought alone is enough to keep you awake at night. Here's where the story turns from curious to electrifying. You see, not every no-mint mark coin is rare. Philadelphia produced coins without mint marks for decades. But the 1980 no-mint mark cent is a special outlier. Its rarity lies not only in the historical transition of minting practices, but also in its condition. Circulated examples might fetch a modest premium, perhaps a few $100s. But coins that escaped the wear and tear of everyday life, coins that gleam with that original mint luster, have commanded staggering sums. In top condition, certified by the strictest grading services, sales have been reported approaching the realm of $800,000. That's the kind of number that doesn't just raise eyebrows, it rattles them right off your face. And here's the kicker: the average person doesn't know this. Every day, pennies are spent, ignored, or discarded without a glance. A cashier at a gas station could hold one of these treasures in their hand and never realize it. A child's piggy bank might contain a fortune disguised as pocket change. So, the question is no longer whether these coins exist. They do. But whether you'll take the time to look before it's too late. Now, I can hear the skeptics. They'll say, a penny worth hundreds of thousands. That's impossible. But coin history is littered with these miracles. The 1943 copper cent, once thought to be a myth, has sold for over $1 million. The 1955 double die penny routinely commands five-figure sums. And yes, in the shadow of those legends, the 1980 no-mint mark cent has carved out a place as one of the most elusive prizes of modern numismatics. So how do you know if you've got one? Here's where the suspense sharpens. First, look at the date, 1980. Then, examine the area just below it, near the rim, where a mint mark would normally appear. If it's blank, you may already feel a rush of adrenaline. But don't rush to conclusions. Many Philadelphia cents from earlier years lack mint marks, too. The difference lies in authentication, and that means turning to reputable coin grading services. These experts use magnification, chemical testing, and decades of experience to confirm whether what you found is genuine, and whether it might change your life. Picture the moment you send off a handful of coins to be graded, not expecting much. Weeks later, an envelope arrives. Inside, a slabbed coin encapsulated in plastic, bearing the words mint error minus 1,980 no mint mark MS67. You can almost hear the drum roll, because at that point, you're no longer holding a penny. You're holding a six-figure lottery ticket made of copper and zinc. But here's the twist that few people consider. Condition is everything. A coin that's been through vending machines, dropped in parking lots, or rattling around in pockets for decades may only bring a fraction of what a pristine example commands. The gulf between pocket change and fortune is measured in scratches, nicks, and luster. And that's why collectors obsess over uncirculated rolls, sealed bags, and estate finds, because somewhere in that untouched stash could be the gem that changes everything now. Let's step back again and talk psychology. Why does this story matter? Because it's not just about coins. It's about possibility. It's about the reminder that wealth doesn't always come from Wall Street or Silicon Valley. Sometimes, it comes from the humblest objects we ignore every single day. There is a thrill, a spark of hope in knowing that the next penny you pick up off the ground might not be worthless, but priceless. Of course, with great opportunity comes great urgency. The longer these coins circulate, the more they wear down, the more their values diminish. Every day, another potential fortune could be lost forever in the shuffle of commerce. That's why the time to act is now. Search your jars, your glove boxes, your old wallets. Dig through the change you've been saving for years. Because once these coins are discovered, certified, and locked away in collections, the chances of finding another grow slimmer and slimmer. Let me leave you with this image. A man in Ohio once walked into a coin shop with a shoebox full of pennies. Most of them were common, but nestled inside, unnoticed for decades, was a single 1980 no mint mark cent in near-perfect condition. That coin, once destined for bubblegum or a bus ride, instead became a small fortune. The man walked out, not just richer, but stunned that something so ordinary had hidden such extraordinary value. So the next time you hear the faint clink of a penny hitting the counter, don't laugh it off. Don't say, it's just a cent, because history tells us otherwise. Somewhere out there, a tiny copper disc carries within it the power to transform lives. And the only question that remains is this: will the next person to discover it be you? Search carefully, act quickly, and remember, in the world of coins, miracles aren't minted every day. But when they are, they can be worth millions. And sometimes, they're already sitting right in the palm of your hand. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile stares confidently from the front. The Lincoln Memorial rests on the back, and the date 1988 sits neatly stamped under his shoulder. But hiding in plain sight is a feature so subtle, so easy to miss, that most people who've held this coin have spent it without ever realizing they had a treasure in their hands. The missing mint mark. Now, before we dive into the jaw-dropping values, let me ask you something. When's the last time you really looked at your spare change? Not just glanced, but actually examined each penny. If you're like most people, you probably dump them in a jar, leave them in your car's co-folder, or even refuse them at the store. But here's the truth: millions of dollars could be slipping right through your fingers. And all it takes is knowing what to look for. You see, the United States Mint marks almost every coin it produces with a tiny letter: a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, a P for Philadelphia. That little mark is like a fingerprint showing exactly where the coin was born. But in 1988, something extraordinary happened. A small batch of Lincoln cents left the Philadelphia Mint with no identifying mark at all. A minting error so rare, so baffling, that collectors today consider it one of the most elusive modern treasures. And here's where it gets unbelievable. Ordinary 1988 pennies. They're worth 1 cent, maybe 2 cents if copper prices spike. But a 1988 no mint mark Lincoln cent in pristine condition. Some have sold for eye-watering sums. Market reports show sales reaching as high as $777,000. Yes, you heard that right, $750,000 for a single penny. And experts whisper that under the right conditions, the right coin in the right auction could cross into the million-dollar territory. Now pause for a moment. Think about that. A penny that most people would ignore on the sidewalk could secretly be a winning lottery ticket hiding in plain sight. But how did this happen? Why would the mint, with all its precision, let such a mistake slip through the cracks? Here's the twist. In the 1980s, the mint was transitioning dyes, the steel punches used to stamp coins. Sometimes, an older die would accidentally be paired with a newer design. Sometimes, the mint mark punch itself was overlooked. And in extremely rare cases, the coin would be released into circulation without that crucial identifying mark, a small oversight to them. A life-changing payday to you. But let's be real. Not every 1988 penny is a jackpot. In fact, most of them aren't. And this is where the story gets tricky. Collectors, dealers, even casual treasure hunters, they're all on the lookout, scouring jars, rolls, and collections for that one missing mark. So how do you know if you've got the real deal? Here's the first clue. Location. Most of these era coins are believed to have originated from the Philadelphia Mint. If your 1988 penny has no letter under the date, don't dismiss it. That's your first sign. Second clue. Condition. Collectors pay the big money for coins in what's called mint state condition. That means no scratches, no heavy wear, sharp details, and that original mint luster. The higher the grade, the higher the value. A circulated one might fetch a few hundred, but a gem, carefully preserved, untouched by years of pockets and vending machines. That's where we start talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even more. And here's where the suspense deepens. The record-setting coins don't just appear in dusty collections. They've been found in bankrolls, handed back as change at the grocery store, even spotted in a forgotten jar of coins sitting in someone's attic. Every time you pay with cash, every time you get pennies back, you could be inches away from fortune, but there's a catch. If you find one, the clock starts ticking. Markets shift. Collectors compete. Demand spikes and drops like the stock market. That's why people who know what they have move fast, sending their coin to a grading service, getting it authenticated, and listing it with high-end auction houses where wealthy collectors battle to outbid each other in the bidding wars. They're legendary. Imagine a room of millionaires fighting tooth and nail over a single copper cent. The tension, the paddles raised higher and higher. The hammer finally drops, and suddenly, someone walks away with a penny worth more than a luxury car, a college education, and a retirement plan combined. Now let's be honest. What's the downside? The fear factor here is that you could have one of these coins sitting right in your possession and never know it. Maybe you've spent one already. Maybe you gave it to a cashier who tossed it in a till, never realizing what just slipped through their hands. That's the nightmare scenario. And it happens all the time. People unknowingly let fortunes go because they never bothered to look. But on the flip side, the dream, the excitement is realizing you've been holding a piece of numismatic history all along. That penny at the bottom of your drawer. That coin you found under the couch. That roll of change you were about to cash in at the bank. Suddenly, it transforms from pocket change into a golden ticket. And here's something funny to think about. How many times have you complained about pennies being useless? Too heavy. Too annoying. Not even worth picking up. Yet, the very coin we complain about could secretly be worth more than a Lamborghini. It's almost poetic. The coin nobody wants becomes the coin everybody wants. So what should you do right now? First, start looking. Check your jars. Check your change. Check every single 1988 penny you come across. Flip it over. Look beneath the date and ask yourself, do I see a mint mark? If the answer is no, you might be onto something. Second, protect it. Don't toss it back into circulation. Don't clean it. Cleaning destroys value. Place it in a coin holder. Keep it safe, and if it looks promising, consider having it graded by a trusted service like PCG's or NGC. And here's the kicker. Even if you don't find the legendary no mint mark 1988 cent, the hunt itself can uncover other treasures, off-center strikes, double dies, transitional errors. Some of these coins, even common dates, can be worth thousands. The world of rare pennies is full of surprises, and fortune favors those who look closely. But let me leave you with this thought. Somewhere out there, maybe in circulation, maybe in a forgotten drawer, maybe in your very own home, a 1988 penny with no mint mark is waiting to be discovered, waiting to change someone's life. The question is, will it be you? Imagine telling your friends you turned a penny into $500,000. Imagine paying off your debts with a coin smaller than your thumbnail. Imagine the story your family will tell for generations. And then imagine the regret of realizing you had one, but never checked. So tonight, when you get home, don't just toss your change aside. Examine it, because that ordinary penny you've overlooked 1,000 times before, it just might be the key to extraordinary wealth. After all, history has proven it again and again. The smallest treasures can carry the biggest fortunes. And the 1988 no mint mark Lincoln cent is living proof that sometimes, in life, the difference between pocket change and life-changing money is just a matter of paying attention. Now, before you roll your eyes and dismiss this as yet another too good to be true story, let me ask you, what if you're holding one right now and don't even know it? What if the fortune you've been searching for isn't locked away in stocks, crypto, or real estate, but instead sitting quietly in a coffee can under your sink? The truth is, most 1996 D pennies are worth face value, a cent. But tanned, this is where it gets thrilling. A tiny fraction were struck with such perfection, such rare conditions, and preserved in such immaculate states that they've become trophies in the numismatic world. And when wealthy collectors compete for trophies, the numbers skyrocket. In fact, one example, graded in near-flawless condition, stunned the market when it fetched a staggering $771,000. That's not a typo. $771,000 for a single penny. So how does a 1-cent coin make that kind of leap? To understand, we need to peel back the layers of history, scarcity, and human desire. This isn't just about copper-plated zinc. This is about the psychology of collecting, the mechanics of minting, and the razor-thin line between common change and life-altering treasure. Let's start with the context. By 1996, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for nearly 9 decades. The Denver Mint, marked with its little d, was producing billions of pennies every year. The vast majority rolled off the presses by the truckload, destined to clink in cash registers and disappear into piggy banks. But here's where the story bends. Not every coin is created equal. Some slip through with tiny flaws, double strikes, off-center impressions, missing layers. Others come out razor-sharp, perfectly struck, and later protected by lucky circumstance from the scratches of circulation. Collectors drool over both ends of this spectrum, the dramatic minting errors and the flawless survivors. Now, here's a question. How many of us, at some point, ignored the advice of a parent or grandparent to check your change? How many fortunes slipped through everyday hands simply because we thought, it's just a penny? It's almost funny. We spend hours chasing online side hustles, yet the answer to a financial windfall might already be rattling in the coin return of your local vending machine. But here's where things get intense. Condition is everything. Grading agencies like PCGs and NGC act as the arbiters of value. They scrutinize every microscopic detail: luster, strike, surface preservation. Out of the billions minted in 1996, only a microscopic fraction has ever been certified in the highest grades. The elusive mint states 69 or higher. And when one of those hits the auction block, buckle up. The bidding war begins. Collectors, investors, and yes, even speculators with deep pockets, all vying for the bragging rights of owning the best. The result? A 1-cent coin commanding prices that would make Wall Street traders raise an eyebrow. And that brings us back to the shocking number: $771,000. Imagine the hammer coming down at that auction. Imagine the disbelief in the room. A penny suddenly transformed into the down payment for a mansion, the full cost of a luxury sports car, or even a comfortable retirement nest egg. It almost feels unreal, but it happened. And here's the kicker: could happen again. So what makes your penny special? Well, start by looking at the mint mark, a little D just below the date, 1996. That tells you it came from the Denver Mint. Next, consider condition. Is it shiny, crisp, free from scratches, dents, or discoloration? If so, you may be on to something. But don't stop there. Era coins, those quirky accidents of the minting process, can also skyrocket in value. A double die obverse, a dramatic off-center strike, or even a clipped planchette could turn a humble cent into a 4- or 5-figure collectible. Now, let's inject a little suspense. Picture this. You're sorting through a jar of change. It's late at night. The house is quiet. You're halfway through when suddenly one coin catches your eye. The date, 1996. The D, the lustrate, looks different. Your heart skips a beat. Could this be the one? That thrill, that moment of discovery, is what drives the hobby. And it's the same adrenaline rush that has propelled ordinary people into extraordinary financial situations. But let's not sugarcoat it. There's a fear factor too. What if you've already spent one? What if you've handed a fortune across a counter for a cup of coffee? That thought keeps collectors awake at night. And it's why the smart ones search every coin with eagle eyes. Because once it's gone, it's gone. Still, there's hope, because billions were minted. And many are still out there, hidden, waiting, maybe in a roll from the bank, maybe in the back of a drawer, maybe even in your pocket right now. And here's the urgency. As time passes, the pool of high-grade survivors only shrinks. Coins wear down, get damaged, lost, or destroyed. Every year, the potential jackpot becomes harder to find, which means the next discovery could be even more valuable than the last dot. Think about it this way. If someone offered you the chance to trade 5 minutes of your time for the possibility of hundreds of thousands of dollars, would you take it? Of course you would. And that's all it takes to check your change. 5 minutes. The smallest investment with potentially the biggest payoff. Let's zoom out for a moment. The 1996 D penny is just one headline grabber in a long list of modern coins that have defied expectations. From the 1992 close AM Lincoln cent, worth tens of thousands, to the 1955 double die that can command over $100,000. History has shown us time and time again that small change can equal big money. But the 1996D, with its million-dollar whispers and record-setting sales, has cemented itself as a modern legend. And here's something few people talk about: the emotional impact. Imagine handing a child or grandchild not just a story, but a fortune disguised as a penny. Imagine being the one who uncovers what generations of others overlooked. It's not just about money. It's about legacy. About turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, of course. You may be wondering, but how do I know for sure? The answer is simple verification. Reputable grading services exist for a reason. If you believe you've got a candidate, you can submit it, have it authenticated. And if luck is on your side, watch its value soar. But here's the part that makes this journey electrifying. Until you look, you'll never know. So let me leave you with this thought. Somewhere in America, at this very moment, someone is holding a 1996 D penny without realizing its potential. It could be you. It could be the person behind you in line at the grocery store. The only difference between the person who cashes in and the one who misses out is awareness. And now, you know the truth. The 1996 Denver Lincoln cent may be the most overlooked millionaire maker in modern coinage. It may not announce itself with gold or silver. It may not sparkle like a diamond. But its value lies in rarity, perfection, and timing, and the clock is ticking. The question is, will you act, or will you let opportunities slip through your fingers? Check your pockets. Search those jars. Open that forgotten roll in the back of your desk, because one coin, just one, could be the key to rewriting your financial story. And when it happens, when you hold that treasure in your hand, you'll remember this moment. The moment you realized that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest fortunes. After all, what's the value of a penny? To most, it's nothing. But to the few who discover the right one, it's everything